welcome back to another episode of Millie's Baseside Chats, where we are live streaming to bring some calm to the chaos of your PCS. Every week, we are trying to bring you experts and people with duty station expertise and also some subject matter expertise to help alleviate the stress of an upcoming PCS. So today, we are super excited to introduce you to another one of our agent heroes. And you might be wondering what an agent hero is. Well, I'm happy to tell you, we have an awesome network of real estate agents that we have vetted and personally made sure and ensured that you will be in good hands when you work with them. We know there are millions of amazing agents out there helping military clients every day, but we wanted to make sure that we had a network that is exclusive to military spouses and service member affiliated folks who have actually PCS before. So we know that you'll be in good hands. You will be working with someone that understands, kind of have a shortcut in the vernacular. You don't have to explain all the lingo, and then also is extremely well versed in things like the VA loan benefit that we all have available to us after a certain amount of time, and can also help walk you through all of the stress points of a PCS, as we know they are very real. So today I want to introduce you to my new friend, Tim. Hey, Tim, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Kelly, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Tim, tell everyone where you're at and where you're calling in from.
Sure. So Northern Virginia, Springfield, which just put that on the map. You got Arlington, you got Alexandria, you got the suburbs, Burke, Belvoir, just to my east. So yeah, so that's where we are.
Yeah. Okay. So tell everyone a little bit about your background.
So I am a U.S. Army veteran. Served just short of 9 years. I was in the Pershing Zone Army Band stationed right here at Fort Myer.
Awesome.
And I played the tuba. So I was also doing a lot of things in Arlington National Cemetery, Pentagon, White House arrivals, but primarily ceremonial duties. And it was an honor.
Wow. Yeah. So Tim, when we're done, if we have time, maybe we should do a little concert for the folks. You know how everyone's doing that right now?
That's right. I'll save you all that.
Okay. We'll schedule that for a later date, but it's
yeah,
I'm going to put you on the hook for that.
I'm on. I'll do it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I want to just, first of all, open up comments, questions. You guys, this is your opportunity. You know where to put them. If you have questions, you're headed to anywhere in the DMV, the D.C Maryland-Virginia area. This is a great opportunity to pick the brain of someone who not only lives there and knows the area, but also knows the market and kind of understands the things that we're looking for as military families, the things that we may not even know to ask yet, right? You don't know what you don't know until you're smacked in the face with it, right? Also, we want to just also start and say, like, we know that this year is going to be bonkers. A lot of people, if they have the opportunity and the ability to take a recon trip, typically they're doing that right about now. And obviously we can't do that with the travel bans. So this is a great chance to really ask your questions and get some answers. So I want to just say that I've lived in several different places and done some decently big cross-country PCSs, and DC was one of the most intimidating moves for me to try to wrap my head around, mainly just because there's so many options. So what do you, Tim, when you have somebody like me who's like, hey, we're headed to DC, where should we live? And you're like, okay, you got any more information than that? Like, how do you kind of walk people down this path of choosing where to even start looking?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's fully loaded question, right?
Yeah.
But I think the first thing is, where's your duty station? And I know when people say DC, well, that means a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
Places like it could be Pentagon, Belvoir, it could be Navy Yard. You just don't know. Bolling, and so they need to figure out first off where they're going to be working, what time are they working. There's also people that are thinking about Quantico. Say, okay, well, that's great because you can do a reverse commute if people are concerned about where they're going to be raising the family. But that's the first place. Find out where the duty station is. And then I ask them, how do you like to commute?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I want to drive every day. Okay, well, let's get in closer because an hour commute here could just be 12 miles out.
Right.
So, yeah, unlike Fort Bragg. So
yes.
The thing is really making sure that we understand the quality of life that they want. If they want to have a very focus back at the house as soon as possible, or if they just I want a big house and I don't mind driving in an hour and a half, then we understand what the needs are of that serviceman, their family, spouse, whatever they're looking for. So that's the first thing. Second thing is talking about the different the highways, the commuter lots, the slug line, the metro. So there's a lot of different ways to get into work. And so much around DC is the commute. It really is. I mean, everything we do is figure out how quickly can I get there without wasting all my day from going to work and coming back home.
Yeah.
And from there, then we learn about a little bit about the type of lifestyle they want. But that first thing, that first part of that puzzle is so important for us.
I've told you before, like if I could reach through the screen and like shake your shoulders and like scream at you about the commute, it would not be strongly stressed enough. And I know there's some bigger metro areas too that suffer the same sort of challenges, but it is real, even down to like which side of the road is your neighborhood on when you're coming home or not, right?
Yes,
it could matter.
Absolutely.
So if anyone is watching this,
it really does.
If you're watching this and curious about or like having trouble kind of visualizing, I would encourage you to open up another tab. Don't leave us. Open up another tab on your browser if you're watching on a desktop, or maybe come visit this later. But we have some really amazing maps on the GoMilly site. So gomilly.com/find-a-base, and then you can navigate directly to the DC area. We've got some photography. We've got that was shot actually by military spouse photographers. And then we have these cool, Tim, I'm going to pull you down for just a second, try to screen share. There are some really neat graphics that we did to try to help people kind of wrap their head around a commute. So this example is for Alexandria. And it's basically just like we took where you live is kind of the starting point. And then we've got peak and off peak hours for traffic. And you can see the difference here, you guys. These bubbles get like way bigger during peak hours and non-peak hours. It's a pretty decent variance, and it kind of grows the farther away you get. So these are kind of positioned from like how far away it is. Like this is 12 minutes or 40 minutes, depending on how far, right? For the Pentagon. McNair is a little farther out, but then you can see like Joint Base Andrews, even though on a map it doesn't look that far away, this commute starts to get pretty serious because you're talking about all the different roadways and stuff. So take a peek at those. Just kind of, again, you've got a point to start, like compare, contrast, right? So maybe you've heard in the Facebook group, and this, Tim, is something we get a lot. People ask, hey, I'm headed to Fort Belvoir. Where should I live? And then they get like this slew of answers because there really is like so many opportunities and places to live. You don't even know where to start with that. So I think identifying your priorities first and foremost, like assess your family. Like, and those are, maybe that's like a dinner table conversation. Like, how important is the commute to us? And you may say it's not that important, but like tack on an hour and a half to your work day and then have that conversation, right? Like just really start to be realistic. That's great. What are some other things to consider when we're talking about evaluating some of the different areas? So I know traffic is big. The commute options are big. Are there any other kind of factors that make DC unique?
There are. I think we would ask people a little bit, especially if they have families, if we have kids, I go, what are the ages?
Yeah.
And that way they know, okay, so what's important to you? If they say, well, we're looking for schools and we've been looking at these different websites, and I would say, excellent. So based on that, and before I go on to the next thing about that, I think what's really cool about all of our military families is that there's already boots on the ground here, right? And so they get a lot of information really quickly.
Yep.
And so they take that information that is like live right now, plus what they see online, and then they can make their good opinion of that school district, whatever it may be, and then their comfort level. So we make sure that's an important thing. They say, oh, like for instance, right now I've got a client that says it's got to be just South County High School. That's it. So what does that mean? We got a certain type of house, certain type of lifestyle, and we also have only a small amount of inventory, and so that makes it a little bit difficult. But it's part of that putting this entire puzzle together. And once we have all those things in place, the control and the stress goes down. Like, okay, now we just need to just trust that we're going to find the right one. Then when the house comes up, we get it. And even if it's a rental, I mean, the rental market can be slim here too. And so we want to make sure that we have those parts of the puzzle in place. Commute, school, lifestyle. We have others that come in and say, hey, I just want to be able to, I got a client and he's in Afghanistan. He says, coming back. He says, I just want to be able to work, get the grocery store, come back, work out, and just, and live my life. And I'm like, okay,
life.
then this is where we should be looking. Yeah, I go, I love it, but let's look in this area. Don't be way down south if that's the case. So it's learning about the client, really what they're looking for. And so if we can have all of these questions answered at the beginning on a phone consult, video consult, whatever it may be, it puts everything clear and we're not wasting time because man, there's no time. That's one thing. There's not time to be going from 395 over to 66, and we need to try to explore those things as much as possible online, and then knowing and honing in on the right place quickly.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it's so crucial to know this ahead of time. Like, and then you're prepared to make decisions quickly if something does come up and you can't get out there and see it, and also that you're not like starting from scratch once you get there. So that 10 days goes real fast, especially when you're traveling. That's not really the time to like start your process for especially a house hunt in the DC area. So Tim, what is like on a typical year, obviously maybe not this year so much, but what kind of timeline do you usually recommend for folks once they learn they're headed here and or there and have maybe some soft orders? What does the process look like as far as like days out from your actual PCS?
Yeah, well, probably about at least 60 to 90 days. And it really depends. What's neat is that right now, I mean, especially even in this current climate we're in right now, we're still finding out that if there's certain areas of town that people are looking at, a lot of those are actually military clients too, and sellers. And so maybe they're like, well, I'm not getting out, even though school's online right now. We're not leaving until hopefully July 1 or whatever it may be. And so there's time to actually still solidify the transaction that you like, the house that you love, and then give them a rent back. And then everyone feels good. It's like, okay, I know I'm coming. I have orders. It's here. I've bought the house. They're renting back from us, and we'll move in and make it nice and smooth. I think that's a big thing right now. But we talk about that timeline. Unfortunately, some places are vacant. And then they go, man, this is not the right timeline. And I go, you know what? Then if you don't want to be paying a mortgage for a couple months, then maybe it's not the right house. We'll be very proactive on this, and we'll get the right one. So I don't want to. The thing is that it gets very stressful. There's so many things to worry about in DC. Let's make this part as peaceful and as calm as possible. And so that's what we try to do, is bring that back to the equation. And when they know we got our eyeballs on all the different aspects of the housing market, then we'll find that house. And we get it. We're doing them. We can probably talk about this too, but it's virtual. It's home tours. If they got boots on the ground here, it's a home tour first, and then the friend comes over next. I mean, that's how we do it. I get it. I think those are the best ones. Like, you can trust my eyes, but if you have someone else's eyes, and then they're smelling the house too.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's important.
The smell matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've definitely had that. Yeah. We, and back to preparation, y'all. If you have all of your sort of like your dream house kind of outlined, then you rely on someone like Tim to just keep an eye out. Like, he's got a pulse on everything that comes out, like he's able to track that kind of stuff for you. And then you don't have to stress and worry about it. Just sit back and relax, and the right house will open up when it's time. For the most part, you can almost trust that if you're working with an agent, then they'll be able to kind of help you make those decisions quickly. And then once you've already outlined what you need and what you want, what's important for your family, it's easy to say yes or no instead of starting with the house. Working backwards, that's way harder to do.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk about like home types. That was one thing that I found interesting specifically about the DC area. So I grew up kind of in the mountains with different sorts of like lots of land and, big house, 2-story, lots of yard space, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of folks that will choose to, quote, sacrifice square footage for things like that commute, right? So we like to say at Millie, especially when you're looking at DC, the easiest way to think of it is you've got home size, home price, and commute. So those are your 3 things.
Yes.
Pick 1, maybe 2, but you're not going to get all 3. So go ahead and start like trying to figure out which one you're willing to like sacrifice. And for us, that was actually price. So we came out of pocket, lived in a bigger home, really close to where he was working, and I had to work. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So how do you have those conversations with people in regards to the different areas? Like, could you maybe
Mhm.
personify like each of the big areas that people are hearing about in Facebook groups?
Yeah, definitely. So I think again, the first thing is the commute. But
Yep.
then from that commute, that may say they want to be 20 minutes out. Okay, then we from where? From Pentagon. All right, all right. That gets us a two, and then we can go. But maybe that's Kingstown. Maybe you like the
Mm-hmm.
amenities of Kingstown. Kingstown gives you that suburban feel, but really close. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want to still be close to an old town where you can have some nice quaint meals, but then come back and still have your TJ Maxx and
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things and things that are very familiar? You may be looking at that. But when they look at that, there's little places which has all three, like a condo, they have the townhouse, and then they have the single family house. But then the prices are just, there's a big gap in the prices. Like a condo is 300, townhouses are 5 to 650. Then you have your single family, they're going 700, 800.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the lifestyle and what they want to afford. Like you said, some will decide, okay, the spouse will, I'll go to work because I want us to be close and we'll all work close, and that makes sense. For others, they're like, forget it. I'm not doing that. I want to stay in a townhouse, and I'm okay living on 3 levels for a while, as long as I have my garage or at least I have running trails. So it's really the lifestyle. If they're looking at other areas of town, you go a little bit north or 66, it's going to get more pricey. It just will be. Or Arlington. I mean, that price,
Mm-hmm.
the prices on a single family house are going to be 900 plus. So lifestyle and price they go hand in hand around here. But I will say this: I think anyone can find a great house
Mm-hmm.
to purchase and have a great lifestyle anywhere around it. I mean, I think about where I live in the Springfield, Burke, in the Fairfax area. There's trails, there's hiking, there's biking, there's places to go and fish,
Yeah.
and you can just not feel like you're in D.C. You feel like
There's
this is
breathing.
nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that is one thing I love about the DC area too. It's like there's no lack of like amenities, right? Like the schools aren't as concerning as some other areas of the country where you have to actually you start with school as like your top thing for your children. You've got a really great selection in that area of the country, so that's not as concerning. I mean, people are still gonna pay attention to that, obviously, but it's not as big of a of a stress point. The museums, the parks, the shopping, the food, oh my gosh, like all of you're gonna have that everywhere. Like everywhere kind of has its own little pocket that's very well supplied, and very well stacked. And a lot of people, I know I stayed in my pocket, I didn't leave. Again, because of
Yeah.
traffic. So how do you start walking people through the decision of whether or not it's a good idea for them to buy, especially in an area with sticker shock like DC? I mean,
Mhm.
those you just threw out some price points that for some might be, whoa, that's a lot. So how do
Right.
you start to kind of evaluate that as a part of the matrix as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really decides. There's some people that come here just like you probably came. They come here for a mid-career resume builder. It's a
Mm-hmm.
part of their military resume to get here for a few years. But they also think that they're going to come back. And I'm not sure what the percentage is, but there's quite a few. You
Mm-hmm.
probably have friends yourselves that they come here but they got to come back for one more tour, and it's just a part of what they want to do with their military career.
Mm-hmm.
We see that a lot here. So some people purchase. I've got clients that purchased in Arlington last year, and the reason they knew they wanted to be there was because they're going to come back here to finish their career and possibly stay and retire here. Some people say, retire in DC? You're crazy. But it is a nice lifestyle, and maybe it's a great time to buy, and it might be a part of their growth or portfolio for wealth management and building their wealth by owning in such a strong market in this area, and maybe with the interest rate. So depending on that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing. And so that is one of the questions we ask people: how long do you think you're coming back, or is this like? And people are pretty clear. I mean, they'll say, no, we we're just going to go there and we're going to be out in 3 years, hopefully. Those kind
Yeah.
of, okay, why don't we rent? Let's find a good place to rent.
Yeah.
And there's other people say, no, I want this to be a part of our investments, and we want to use a VA loan, and we hope we can come back. We're not sure. then they look at that and they actually think this is a great thing to invest in. And so I think it's both, but it's not just the investment, it's the entire how it fits into their whole family.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And I think there's two, but that is such a good question right at the beginning on every person that inquires about buying here, because it is expensive.
Yep.
And it's a long-term investment. Most people don't want to buy 2 or 3 years and then try to sell. It's just, I mean, it's not good for anyone. And it's usually for military. It's tough,
right.
Really tough. So if you're going to hold it and then rent it out, a lot of people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens a lot. And that's a great point, too, to stress to people who, if you're interviewing agents right now, no matter where you're going to be working, if they're not asking questions like that to make sure that your best interests are at the heart of what the transaction is all about, like you want to make sure that that's who you're working with. And someone that is military savvy will ask that kind of question, like how long what is your career path? What does your trajectory look like? And again, you can skip ahead a few steps if you're working with an agent hero that understands that kind of like scheme, right? The long-term play.
Sure. Right.
That's great. Oh, I had a question. Oh, you know what? So they made some changes to the VA loan this year. And one of the areas that we consistently hear kind of associated with that change is the DC area and places that have the higher price points. So in case you guys aren't aware, they lifted the loan limits for some areas. So it used to be areas like DC were a little out of reach for doing a 100% VA financed loan. Correct me if I'm using wonky terminology.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in areas like DC, usually those home prices, it was a jumbo market, like they had a higher limit there, but even still, like, if you're looking at the $1 million homes, which some people do, there are plenty of dual income military families and folks, spouses that have careers, that is an attainable position for them to be in. What are you seeing in the DC area in regards to that? Has that opened up opportunities for folks? I'm just curious to pick your brain about that.
Yeah, I think let's not talk about just this spring market.
Right.
So let's talk in general. But I would say so. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for people at the more high end because it is 100%. Their credit is amazing. They've got a great history on that, and if they have if they have money to put down too, it depends on how many times they use the VA loan as well. I mean, usually a few times, and it gets expensive for the reuse. Yeah. But especially if they're active duty, but it still can be a no-brainer for some people to say, look, I don't care if it's a 3.3. I couldn't have got this loan without this 100%. So it's fine. I would say even now, more than probably last time, in the last few years, with the upper market is slightly softening just a little bit right now. It might even be a better advantage for some of those buyers. The other part of this is that some of these military owners, they own properties, let's say San Diego or other high, expensive places where they may have enough proceeds and net proceeds that they've lived there, and they bring that over here and they can reach that $1 million property easily and put the $200,000-$300,000 down and be under that and get a better loan rate. So it's cut and dry. It's every individual person, but yes, the VA loan is a fantastic way to look at, looking at higher priced properties if the purchaser is able to take care of that. My question though, about Kelsey, this is for all buyers. I ask them this, especially when it's their first time coming to DC. I say, at what price home and mortgage do you sleep well at night? Yeah. And they laugh, just like you laugh.
That's a good one.
It's kind of that like nervous laugh, like, I go, no, this is serious. Like the worst thing I want you to do is on closing days, sit there and look up at the ceiling every night going, this is crazy. We don't need to do that. This is just part of your life. Let's not make it everything you think about.
In my situation, it would be me signing those papers. My husband would be the one staring up at the ceiling and I'd be like, oh God, what did we get into? So, those are conversations.
Yeah, we don't want
that. Okay, Tim, let's talk about moving this year. So what kind of, what have you had to do professionally in order to be able to still make sure that military families coming in feel comfortable and confident with their transactions? I know we do this kind of anyway. It's interesting. I was talking to an agent out of San Diego last week, and she was like, Nothing really changes because my clients have been buying long distance for a long time. So
Yeah.
in that way, we almost have like a leg up. We have a comfort level that we've always kind of had to have with this sort of virtual transactions. But tell me a little bit about like what else you're seeing right now, what your clients are needing and asking of you, and how you're accommodating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think one thing, yeah, you're right. We have been doing this already. I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah.
But I think even more, like we're using different platforms to download the cloud recording of it, with permission from the listing agents, and going at because one may be in deployed somewhere, and one may be stateside, but they're both hundreds of miles apart from each other and from us, right? So it's sending that, it's going through the house. You can look at a virtual tour online, and it's not the same as having someone walking in and really picking things apart. I say that because I think it's important. I want that the product to be the same and the house is the same, that okay, Tim pointed out that's right. The other day I was doing a virtual tour with some clients, military clients, one in Colorado, husbands in deployed overseas. And I said, okay, I walked in, beautiful house. I said, okay, coat closet. And they said, yeah, where's the coat closet? And it was not there. And
Right.
I'm like, oh no, what are we going to do about this? And so just those kind of things that I'm looking for, because you just don't think about that until someone else steps foot in the house. And so I kind of put I don't remember. I have 3 kids, and so I remember when a toddler started being able to crawl around, and the doctor says, "I want you to go through your house like the toddlers and look at everything at their level."
Yep.
And I was like, "You're right. Everything's unplugged. This is safety hazards."
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about that too with them. I was like, "Man, I'm the eyes right now. It's not just my camera walking around with them. I need to tell them what I sense. I know this door is not sticking. Let's watch that. I'll see it in the basement. Smells a little musty, but see if there's any problems." So I think that's where I'm trying to make sure that I am the senses, not just what's on a camera when I'm talking to them. And then we take time. I mean, most tours on these 3,000 square foot homes are about an hour. I mean, I'm going through a house and making sure it's done. So some things are same, but some things are different, like this, because before you might be able to get it all done and show it and they go, great, let's put an offer in. I've got some time. I'm going to get out in 3 days for the home inspection. It's not happening as much now. So now they really got to put the trust in us to really give them a very clear picture of that house, put the offer in, and maybe they're even doing the home inspection virtually. So that's a little different. And so hopefully we're working with inspectors that say, guys, they're not here. And he says, I know 50% of our clients are not right now. They said, so let's make sure we do a really good job. And we answer. So it's not just the inspection, it's answering their questions later, showing them video of what they saw at that house. And so hopefully with all those different components, they can still feel good about where they are in the purchase, even though they haven't actually put their physical foot down and felt the house. We got to be that person for them right now.
What I'm kind of loving about if there are positives to be found right now, is that hopefully some of these standards will stay in place across the board and help us as military families, because we're still going to buy houses long distance and we're still going to do sight unseen. I mean, hopefully not as often as now, but I mean, it would be so great now that people have like a sense of what that's like, having not lived our experience, and hopefully be a little more compassionate to the way we have to do this. That's great. Yeah,
definitely. I agree.
I was talking to somebody yesterday on a chat, and she was saying that even like getting the contracts and everything signed, there was a notary or someone that came to the door, like left him at the door. She had to put her ID on like the glass window. They sat in the car and waited and still like FaceTimed with them. It's crazy, like not having contact. Are you seeing any other kind of interesting things that are happening like that?
Yeah, well, we are definitely the title companies, or either you can do, I don't want to call it drive-by. It sounds terrible. Drive up. Let's call it drive
up. That's better.
Settlements, right? So I don't feel comfortable going into the title company right now, even though they're like sanitizing it like crazy. Everyone brings their own blue pen, or you can have a new blue pen that you only touch. You wear gloves, but yeah, they're making this as trying to do things as easy as it possible to make it easy for our clients. They'll sit in their car. The title person will pass it to them. They'll have a mask on. they'll sign, then the passenger will sign on the dashboard, then they'll pass it back over.
Wow.
It's just happening. And they're even sometimes even saying, agent, you guys can come, but you want to be like 4 or 5 parking spaces down. And we're like, hooray, it was wonderful.
Oh gosh.
Congratulations.
So you're like throwing keys at people and
Here's
saying,
the keys. No, I mean, I'm kidding, but something like that. Or even like next week, we have my teammates, we're doing a virtual walkthrough of the house.
Okay.
Virtual walkthrough.
Yeah.
So at the final closing, final walkthrough. So the sellers are still staying in for a few months. So we're going to have everyone on Zoom, and we're all just going to walk through, and we're going to have our form, and we're going to check everything off. I mean, of course, we're going to do another one, but the final walkthrough is a big deal.
Right.
So this is going to make sure that everything's the same way they expected it when the last time they saw it, which was a month and a half ago, right? And so there's a lot more trust. I think it goes back to what you were just saying, is that I think this is the human part element of a transaction is coming back, even though it's separate. I think the trust of having to say, as a seller, as a buyer, we're all going to make sure this is done as the best we possibly can. In the current set, I think you're right. There's gonna be some great things that happen on this. Yeah.
The human element comes back, even though it's detached.
It's a different way, right?
Oh, that's a great way to think of that. Yeah. Well, because you can't rely on you're making decisions kind of for someone. Like everything you're providing has so much more weight now because you don't have them able to participate as actively. That's huge. You guys, you got to find somebody like this. Ask these questions. Make sure you get a feeling that this is the way you're going to be treated when you're doing transactions like this and looking at these big uneasy kind of purchases from afar. It's important. Wow. What else would you say to someone headed to the DC area and that is nervous because of all the things that we've already talked about and maybe even slightly overwhelmed even by this conversation? Maybe they're getting a late start or, just not even sure what's happening if the orders will even come through, right? What do you have any kind of assuring words for those folks?
I was thinking about this, and I think it's not just the military, but anyone coming to DC. But I really think the military has a nice leg up on this. Is that I think the standard is anyone says it takes at least 3 to 5 years to feel comfortable in a new place. But that is all you got. For most military, maybe 3. So you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to come to a duty station and not feel comfortable for 3 years. That doesn't sound great. And I was like, but the thing with the leg up of the military is that it's tight real fast. They make connections with people really quickly. And I think a part of that is just the way that military families are made up. They're just strong to make that connection. But then secondly, about DC is that they'll meet people that have made this their home. And when they actually sense that there's a place that this is not moving, this is their house. They have friends, they have neighbors outside of the military. The kids are running down the street. There's barbecues, there's Friday night things. I just think that you make it what you want. But I think here in DC, you can see there's a sense and core of a community pretty fast. And there's enough great things with each little area of town that you can sense you're part of a community. And I think what's really funny, I mean, I'm not sure if you had the same experience, but there's people after 2 to 3 years and that they're, I got to be honest, I kind of hated it here at first. And then they go, I know. And they go, but I really love it. And you go, isn't that, I don't know how, you talk to people at other places, they just love it from the first day. That doesn't always happen. Right. But I say that most people walk away from me, they go, I need to get some pictures. I need some colonial pictures. I need to take this from Old Town or Mount Vernon or over the mall. I remember going over to the Smithsonian. I mean, there's just so many great things here that if you will just open yourself up to enjoy it and get out of your comfort zone, I think you will walk away from DC if you don't come back really cherishing your time here. It's a unique area. It's a unique area of the country. So much history, so much life, vitality. It's not just the military, the government. There's so many great businesses here, local businesses. You just feel like there's a sense of community. and even though they're all in little pockets, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. So we were only there for a year. So I was kind of like exactly what you're saying. Had I had a little bit longer, I think I would have really dug in and probably never left.
Yeah.
And now I look back so fondly on that time. Like, it's funny. I don't feel like I appreciated it enough while we were there. And again, back to everything that we do, everything that we structure at Millie is so that you can get acclimated before you even get there. Like, we want to make sure all of this is kind of out of the way so that you can enjoy and max out that 3 years that you may have somewhere, and discover all of the goodness that's there. And you can't do that if you're still scrambling to put things in place, logistically for your family or for your housing situation, if you wait until you're like arriving. So
I totally agree.
thanks, Tim. This was incredible. I could chat with you for like 3 more hours, but I should probably feed my kids.
Right.
Yeah. This was really awesome. Thank you so much for your time. You guys, if you have questions on the replay, feel free to add them in the comments below. We will monitor this thread and make sure that you are taken care of. Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Be safe and healthy. All right.
You too.
All right.
You too. All right.
You have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something new about the DC area. Hopefully we maybe alleviated a little bit of stress or apprehension if you're headed there, whenever you are headed there. If those orders are still pending or you're waiting on the travel ban to lift, go ahead and start making connections with agents or, professionals, or even, like he said, the boots on the ground that are there in the DC area. Chances are folks that are there. Start getting a feel for that area before you get there. Start trying to orient yourself and do fun things like go to the tourism sites and the visitors bureaus and things of the different areas and discover like what people are enjoying right now, especially with the outdoors. Just try to find the positive, find the good. Don't focus on the stress. If you would like to connect with an agent like Tim anywhere in the country, we have a huge network of agent heroes, and you can find that on the Go Millie site. So just gomillie.com, and across the top you'll see find an agent, and we will connect you with a vetted agent who has military experience, either as a veteran or a military spouse, and who also meets a pretty high standard, because we want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. So let us know if we can help you find an agent in your area. Okay, you guys, we'll be back again tomorrow. So we'll see you soon. Take care.